Hey guys, it's Tom Box. Welcome to MST.TV, and look at that. Ooh, finally, I lost most of my hair, and lost it in the best way possible. Getting it cut, of course, and because I was sick the other week, and I missed my hair appointment. But finally, it's all slimmed down. In fact, it slimmed down so much that I actually look like I got a lot skinnier. But that's just the magic of video editing. I'm actually 500 pounds, and this is all fake. Nothing here is real. But you know what is real? All this Yu-Gi-Oh jargon, and that's what this video is about, Yu-Gi-Oh jargon. Sometimes people explain their card effects and they use jargon, they just throw in a couple of words in there. You pretend you know what it is, and then you eventually try to use it yourself, and eventually things get kind of muddy, and the definition is no longer what it was supposed to mean. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about some of the most commonly used Yu-Gi-Oh jargon, and what their intended meaning is in terms of a judge's standpoint, and some of these just drive us up the wall. We should not be using these kinds of terminology, but we do, and that's why this video is going to be exceptionally triggering for a lot of people. And hopefully you guys aren't getting cheated by some of them. I'll also explain how some people use it to cheat as well, just so that this is a ruling video of some sort. And we'll get into this. So make sure you guys hit that like button, hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't subscribed to MST.TV, and let's jump into this jargon list of Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay, the first piece of jargon to ease us all in, we're gonna go with hard once per turn and soft once per turn. It would seem like this whole once per turn thing is a bit of a relic in a transitional period between old Yu-Gi-Oh! And new Yu-Gi-Oh! Most of the new Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards, they have a quote-unquote hard once per turn. I really don't like that term, but it is a statement that describes a condition of a particular card effect for a specific card name. So in other words, no matter how many copies you have of a certain card, if you use that particular effect from that particular card name, all the other copies cannot use it. Hence, that's why people describe it as hard once per turn, because it doesn't matter how many copies you have. As long as you used it once, it's over. And that's usually followed by a statement that somehow sounds like you can only use this effect of card X once per turn. And the name of the card will be put in quotes. That's hard once per turn. Right, that's what it's really describing. It's describing the condition. And then there's the old school soft once per turn, or the original once per turn that is usually in a statement for an ignition effect. It usually says once per turn, colon, you can do X, and it will not put the card name in quotation, and therefore no matter how, for each copy that you have of that card, well, you can use that particular effect for each one. And on top of that, if you flip the card face down and flip it back to face up, it resets that, because now it's considered as it didn't really use the effect. So in other words, you can usually activate the card effect again, with the exception of cards that flip themselves face down. That's the only exception on that particular rule of you cannot really use that same effect once per turn, because it has a battle position flipping type of change. And a card effect that kind of accompanies both of these types of once per turn condition, we have Vision Hero Vion. If this card is normal summon or special summon, you can send one hero monster from your deck to your graveyard. You can only use this effect of Vision Hero Vion once per turn. So if you use the summon trigger of this particular card, then even if you summon more Vision Hero Vions, you will no longer send any more cards into the graveyard. However, it also has the effect of once per turn, you can banish one hero monster in your graveyard to add a polymerization from your deck to your hand. If you have multiple copies of Vion and you have multiple heroes in the graveyard, each one of those Vions can activate to add those polymerizations into your hand, if that's what you're into. Not sure why you would do it, but I'm just saying, hey, this card actually accompanies both types of once per turn. But all in all, one is describing a condition for a particular card name's effect, and the other is how many times can you actually use this particular card effect while it is face up on the field. And that's hard once per turn, soft once per turn. See, it wasn't so bad. That's why people come up with these terms and shorten it. Next one, spell speed 4? There's only spell speed 1, ignition effects, trigger effects, something along the lines of some of the slowest effects in the entire game. Number 2, spell speed 2, quick effects, trap cards, and quick play spells. And then there is spell speed 3, counter traps. And if we know how to build our chain links, you know that spell speed 2 has to be responded to something else that is spell speed 2, or you have to go for a spell speed 3. And once you're in spell speed 3, everything else must be spell speed 3. What is spell speed 4 then? Spell speed 4 is just basically describing that something cannot be responded to. That's what it's just legitimately describing. That's why Super Poly is such a common card related to Spell Speed 4. Honestly, it's a really bad term. You shouldn't really use Spell Speed 4, but I get why people describe it as Spell Speed 4 because, oh, even a counter trap can't negate it. Well, it's true because it has a condition. These are the cards that have conditions that state a player cannot activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation or this effect's activation. A list of cards include Super Poly, Borreload Dragon, Borrelsword Dragon. Both of these cards have conditions. Clifford Stealth, I believe, also has this. Xingjianghu Replica also has this. These are cards that, well, cannot be responded to when you activate their effects. Borreload, whenever it tries to reduce something's attack, remember, it states that your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this effect's activation. So, it is not part of the effect, so even if the Borreload is under skill drain, if it activates its effect, it comes with that condition. It's a condition, guys. It is a condition. Whoa. So, yeah, that's why it works really well. And a lot of people get really upset because, oh, the card's under skill drain. Oh, I cannot use my ABC stuff. It was related to ABCs back then. And why they couldn't tag out properly? Because Borreload chose to do something to disrupt their chain so that they couldn't do a chain manipulation to remove the ABC off the field. Yeah, there was that. That's why Borreload Dragon was so powerful. And that's why even Borrelsword, the ability to switch something to defense mode, that is so powerful. Because it cannot be responded to. And that's what it is really describing. Even a counter trap can't stop these cards because there is no response timing for anyone. It kind of cuts off the chain right away. There is no chainableness to these cards. And that's what's describing Spell Speed 4. Stop using the term. Alright, next piece of Yu-Gi-Oh! Jargon. It affects the player. Well, this one's actually kind of accurate because some cards like Mystic Ref Panel, it specifically states that when your opponent activates a card that targets one player, I guess somehow that does kind of translate into, yeah, I guess cards can affect players, but the most common card that people think of would be Evenly Matched. Because Evenly Matched's wording states that at the end of the battle phase, if your opponent controls more cards than you do, you can make your opponent banish cards from their field face down so that they control the same number of cards you do. That particular wording does seem like you're causing your opponent to do an action. In fact, any card effects that causes your opponent to perform an action would be one of those that affects the player, but it doesn't really affect the player, but it does carry an action performed by the player during the resolution of the card effect. And this one matters a lot in terms of stuff like Trickstar Light Stage, because Trickstar Light Stage forces your opponent to activate a card or send it to the graveyard, but it makes your opponent send it to the graveyard, so therefore it's not considered as sent by your particular card effect. And that kind of bypasses Waking the Dragon. If you use Trickstar Light Stage and you stun out a Waking the Dragon and your opponent sends it to the graveyard, thing is, it is that your opponent sent it to the graveyard, not your particular card effect that removed it from the field. And therefore people get really upset for all these little technicalities, and therefore somehow this affecting the player became a bigger thing than what it really is supposed to be, which is your opponent is forced to perform an action through the resolution of a particular card effect. Is that accurate? Well, leave it down in the comment section if you think that was poorly described, and yeah, you know what, let's just call it affecting the player. Number 4, Chain Block. Is that a real thing? Sadly enough, I think it was actually described in an article talking about how you can block certain chains. It was like a strategic discussion, but what chain blocking is describing is simultaneous effect goes on chain, and it describes how chain link 1 cannot be negated by something in chain link 4 because they are no longer attached. It's too far detached, and chain link 2 and 3 kind of cover up the chain, causing a block. That's where the terminology kind of came from. One of the earlier instances of chain blocking is Royal Oppression and the Blizzard, the Far North, and a Black Whirlwind. With the Black Whirlwind and the Blizzard, the Far North, you activate Blizzard as chain link 1, and then you chain link to the Black Whirlwind. Since both of these are trigger-like effects, therefore they will be in the same chain link, and because of that, Royal Oppression cannot activate. Royal Oppression cannot negate the Blizzard because the last thing that is activating is Black Whirlwind. So that's where it kind of came from. In a more common instance and a more recent one, which would be Chaos Dragon Levianeer and Danger Thunder Dragon. You banish out 3 dark monsters. You have Thunder Dragon Dark, Roar, and another dark monster, and then you summon out your Chaos Dragon Levianeer. Well, Chaos Dragon Levianeer has a summon base trigger, and then the other guys have banish base triggers, so then they have create a 3-part chain link, which is chain link 1. They're going to choose to put a search effect, which would be Thunder Dragon Roar, then they put the Thunder Dragon Dark, and now they have chain link 3 as Chaos Dragon Levianeer. And with Chaos Dragon Levianeer, your opponent cannot use Ash Blossom anymore because Chaos Dragon Levianeer being the last thing in the chain, well, it doesn't really affect your deck, so you can't really use it. So those search effects are completely covered, therefore blocked by Chaos Dragon Levianeer. That's what it's really describing as chain block. So hopefully we get all the definitions all together. But what is not a chain block is that if you have multiple quick effects and activate them in succession without giving your opponent a proper response timing, that's not a chain block. That's just you being a dirty cheat, not giving your opponent a proper response timing. And, oh, I'm going to activate this quick effect and that quick effect, and therefore this other quick effect that actually searches a card, you can't ash it now because I've already chain blocked it. That's not a chain block, and that is actually one of the most commonly abused things between noob novice players. So please don't do that. If you're going to be using the terminology of chain block, at least use it right, which is simultaneous effects goes on chain, and therefore the chain is inaccessible for negation. Okay. That was really wordy, and I get why people say chain block now. Okay, number 5, please don't dislike this video. Inherent Summon. It's a summoning condition. In other words, it's a special summon that jumps out from your hand, or it's a special summon that jumps out of the graveyard, which does not start a chain. It is a built-in summoning mechanic within the monster. It's a built-in summon. Some articles have described it as a built-in summon. Some people call it inherent summon. I don't even know where this terminology came from. I just knew that it existed back in 2008 when people were talking about Dark Arm Dragon, when people were talking about Judgment Dragon. They're like, yeah, those are inherent summons. Like, even way back in the day, Blackluster Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning, and Chaos Emperor Dragon, those are inherent summons. And they described it as inherent summons because way back whenever you summon something, there was turn player ignition priority. Upon summoning a card, you can use its effect right away, almost like it was a trigger-based summon effect. And it mattered for Dark Arm Dragon and Judgment Dragon because upon summoning Judgment Dragon, it was like almost impossible to stop it from nuking the board, unless you had like a Solemn Judgment to like prevent the summoning altogether. But that was the inherent summon. It's basically describing a special summon that does not start a chain. So Chaos Dragon Levianeer, Blackluster Soldier, Link Summon, all your extra deck summoning mechanics except for fusion summons. Well, maybe like I guess Thunder Dragon Colossus, that one was technically a summon that also did not start a chain, but you guys kind of get the idea. It's just a built-in summoning mechanic, and it's typically a summoning condition for the monster, and I think that's a more appropriate way to describe these inherent summons. But it basically just means it doesn't start a chain, and you don't have to reveal anything. There's no chain timing for someone. It's not like activating a BA monster where you activate the Burning Abyss monster, now your opponent can use like a card like Mind Crush to kind of get rid of it, and then they'll just say they don't have it. Okay, one last one here. Shout out to you, Georgie. Fizzle. Fizzle is not a thing, really. It's really just describing a continuous spell or trap or a field spell which gets removed from the field before the resolution of the card, and so during the chain link resolution it resolves without an effect. That's what it really means by fizzling. It just doesn't happen. It just you don't get the effect. That's all. Some monsters need to stay up on the field, like Zombie Master. If you destroy the Zombie Master before it is hitting the resolution of the card, then yeah, then the card will now resolve without effect. That's fizzling, guys. And now you guys are definitely Yu-Gi-Oh! Jargon experts. If you guys have more to put down in the comment section, well, leave it down there. I would love to kind of stay up to date with my Yu-Gi-Oh! Jargon so that it makes judging a little bit easier. Actually, it just makes judging really annoying. If you're going to describe a situation to a judge, describe it step by step. Cost for card and how things are moving, rather than saying, oh, my card affects spell speed 4, therefore it can't do anything. Like, it really annoys us. Trust me. That doesn't really tell us too much information. In fact, it more or less moves things out of context. that's all I got for this video, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you guys learned a thing or two about how to be a Yu-Gi-Oh! Jargon snob, hit that thumbs up button. If you guys want to see more stuff from MST.TV, hit the subscribe, ding the notification bell, and yeah, maybe one day I'll teach you guys the secret of losing weight. If you want to lose weight, just don't get sick. And I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya!